don't know him, this is Ricardo Chabelle, who's our technical assistant this morning. We appreciate him very greatly.
Our IT person.
Yes.
Thanks, Mary, for the introduction. Good morning. Thanks for coming. My presentation today is about what dairy farmers should know about genetic selection. So after a short introduction, I will discuss three key concepts that appear in Sire summaries that we should manage in order to make proper Sire selection decisions. Okay? Then we will discuss about selection for multiple traits, and at the end we will have some take-home messages. I will start my presentation today arguing that one of the genetic selection decisions is one of the most important decisions that a dairy producer frequently makes, and in fact represent a great opportunity to improve the profitability of dairy production enterprise. Contrary to other management decisions such as nutrition, changes achieved through selection are cumulative and permanent over time, and hence we consider it's a very cost-effective strategy. I have here a clear example. I'm sure you have seen this data before. So we have in the left, in blue, the change in milk per cow per year in the last 60 years. So we can see a remarkable increase in milk production in the last 60 years. Look at this, remarkable. Now, underlying this remarkable increase, we have at the same time a remarkable genetic improvement in our animals. This is the genetic trends of milk PTAs of our animals in the last 60 years. And in fact, 60% of this improvement here, 60% is given by genetic improvement, okay? So we know that dairy bulls are genetically evaluated for several traits. We have production trait, fertility trait, health traits, type traits, and this information is regularly compiled and published as Sire summaries. Now there are at least three key concepts that appear in the Sire summaries that we should consider in order to make proper Sire selection decisions. These three key concepts are: the first one, predicted transmitting ability, the famous PTA, that is a measure of the genetic merit of the bull. Secondly, we have reliability, that is a measure of the degree of confidence that we have in the PTA of the bull. And finally, something that I consider really important is what I call the percentile rank. This is a measure of the rank of the bull within the population. And I will discuss these three key concepts in the next slides. So we know about PTA, predicted transmitting ability. Actually, it's the genetic prediction that we should always use to select our sires. It's actually an estimate of the relative genetic superiority that a bull will pass to its offspring. Interestingly, the PTA value on the animal has no special meaning per se, because it's not an absolute value. Actually, it's a deviation from a mean. But PTAs are exceptional tools for comparing and ranking available bulls. Why are these exceptional tools for comparing and ranking bulls? Well, because actually the difference between the PTAs of two bulls is an estimate of the difference that we expect to observe in the phenotype in the performance of their progeny. That's really important. So here we have daughters of two proven bulls. We have Super Sire, we have Right. Let's say that Super Sire has a PTA for protein of plus 71, while Right has a PTA for protein of plus 17. The difference in the PTA of these two bulls is 54. That means that we expect that the daughters of Super Sire will produce 54 or more pounds of protein per lactation than the right daughters. That means when we compare the PTAs, the difference is actually the performance that we expect to observe in the progeny of these bulls. Now, in terms of productive life, for example, let's say that Super Sire has a PTA of +7, right a PTA of 8.6, so the difference is 1.6. That means that we expect that right daughters will survive in the herd 1.6 more months than the daughters of Super Sire. So it's a key concept. PTA is what we use to select sires and are exceptional tools for comparing potential bulls. The second key concept that is really important is reliability. Reliability actually is a measure of the accuracy or degree of confidence that we have in the PTA of the bull. And in general, it's expressed as a percentage and goes from 1 to 99. That means if it's 1, we don't trust in this value. If it's 99, we can consider that we are almost seeing the true genetic merit of a given animal. What is important when we discuss and we use reliability is that reliability in fact depends on the heritability of the trait. That means depends on biology, and also depends on the amount of information that we have. And this is important. If heritability and the amount of information increase, then the reliability will also increase. That means for a given bull, always the bull has a more reliable PTA from protein yield than for daughter pregnancy rate, simply because protein yield has higher heritability. Secondly, and this is important, always a bull with many daughters has a more reliable PTA for any given trait that we want to consider than a young bull with no or just few daughters. Okay? Now, it's a measure of the accuracy of degree of confidence that we have in the PTA, and this is important. We should not select or exclude potential sires based on reliability, but we have to use reliability as a guide to decide how intense we want to use a bull. Here I have an example. Let's say that we have to buy 120 units of semen. Basically, we have two potential options. We can buy the 120 units of semen from the same bull, a progeny test bull with 95% reliability, or what we can do is we can buy 20 units of semen from 6 different young genomic tested bulls. These young genomic tested bulls have higher genetic merit than this progeny tested bull, but have lower reliability because they don't have daughters. So in the next slide, I will discuss and will show you that this is the best strategy in this scenario. Why is that? Well, as you know, nowadays the number of young genomic tested bulls available in the marketplace far exceed the number of progeny tested bulls, okay? And in general, because genetic selection is permanent and cumulative, we expect that young genomic tested bulls have a higher predictive genetic merit than progeny tested bulls. Now, there is a drawback, is that these young genomic tested bulls, they have lower reliabilities, okay? So we should use young genomic tested bulls because they have higher genetic merit, but the best strategy for managing the risk of lower reliabilities is in fact to use what we call, instead of 1 or 2, we call a team of young bulls. And I have this graph, this table here, that show that if we use one genomic tested bull, we have a reliability of 70%, okay? Now, if we use 3 genomic tested bulls, now the average genetic merit of the team has now a reliability of 90%. And look at this, if we use 6 genomic tested bulls, now the average genetic merit of the team of the bulls has a reliability of 95%. So here the message is we should go and use young genomic tested bulls. They are potential rock stars, but instead of use one or two, we should use a team of young bulls in order to manage the risk, to dilute the risk associated with lower reliabilities. And the third concept that I want to discuss today is what I call percentile rank. These are tables or graph of PTA distributions, and it's really useful information that we have to use in order to rank or find the position of the bull in the population under evaluation. And the interpretation is really straightforward. If we find that a bull ranks for a given trait in a 95 percentile, this means that the bull is genetically superior to 95% of all the bulls evaluated. So this is the table of percentiles in Holstein for 3 different traits: protein yield, productive life, and daughter pregnancy rate. And let's say that we are in front of this bull, Twister. These are the PTAs of Twister, plus 24, plus 6.9 for productive life, and plus 1.7 for daughter pregnancy rate. Well, they are positives, they look good, but actually we do not know if the bull is outstanding, if it's really genetically superior. The only way to do it is to compare with the population. And this is important to see how good is the bull that we will consider. For example, with 24 plus 24 from protein yield, actually this bull is above the 30% but below the 20%, so we consider that Twister is in the top 30% of the population. For productive life, for example, with a PTA of 6.9, we can go to there and see that 6.9 is higher than 5.4, but is below 7.3, so we consider that Twister for productive life is actually in the top 5% of the population. Let's say that we care about daughter pregnancy rate. Let's see how this bull rank with 1.7. Well, Twister, it's okay, but it's in the top 30% of the population. Again, it's crucial to compare our bull that we are under consideration with the whole population using this percentile rank. So this is just to show you how Holstein, for example, showed this percentile rank. Basically, they have different percentiles, 1%, 5%, 10%, 20%, different traits. This is the information that you can find in the website, for example. And for each percentile, you have the range, and then you have the average. Okay? This is information that you can get from the website. So now we will discuss about selection for multiple traits. I know that you guys, you select for multiple traits. In fact, there are a large number of traits, including production traits and fitness traits, that directly impact the profitability of the dairy production enterprise. And we have different methods for selecting sires considering multiple traits. I will start describing what we call independent culling or rejection levels. Here the idea is to first choose minimum standards. We call minimum standards or cutoff values for each of the traits under selection, and then we select only bulls that meet simultaneously all these criteria. For example, let's say that we want to select simultaneously for protein yield, productive life, and daughter pregnancy rate, okay? And I decide that these are the 3 cutoff values that I will use: plus 31, plus 4.3, plus 2.5. Okay? So what I will do is I will use only bulls that have simultaneously PTAs values that are above these 3 minimum standards of cutoff values. So I recognize that this is a simple method that actually allows us to select simultaneously for multiple traits using simple rules, but I would argue today that this method has some important limitations. The first one is that these minimum standards, these cutoff values, are in general chosen arbitrarily without using any formal approach. Actually, I decide here plus 31, but you can argue that why not use plus 30? Or why not use here plus 2.0? Even more important, these values may vary over time due to genetic progress and changes in the genetic base. That means that cutoff values that we are using today and are maybe appropriate, in the near future can be maybe too liberal or too restrictive. So that means that we have to update these cutoff values. How do we update the cutoff values if we don't have any formal approach to do it? So I'm in trouble. The third argument is that this method ignores completely the genetic relationship between traits of interest. For example, production traits, milk yield, protein yield, fat yield, they are highly correlated, and this method ignores this. And this impacts the efficiency of selection, actually impact negatively the efficiency of selection when we select for traits that are genetically correlated. And finally, even more important, the effectiveness of this method, what they call independent culling or rejection levels, decrease as the number of traits under selection increases. And at the end of the day, if we use this, we end with fewer bulls that meet all the criteria, and these bulls are only marginally superior for each trait. We don't have any rock stars. We probably have a bunch of mediocre bulls. Now I have good news. We have a better method that we call the use of economic selection index. This is a better approach for selecting bulls considering multiple traits. It combines multiple traits into a single value, what greatly facilitates the selection of the bulls. And what is really important here is that the individual traits are weighted based on relevant genetic information and also the economic importance. So these economic weights are based on current and future prices for both input to the systems and output of the system, and these values are updated regularly to reflect current trends in the price of, for example, feed and milk. So this is really good. So nowadays in dairy, we have at least 4 selection indices. We call lifetime net merit, cheese merit, fluid merit, and grazing merit. And these indices consider simultaneously 12 different traits, including production traits, milk, fat, and protein, female fertility trait, 3 of them, daughter pregnancy rate, heifer conception rate, and cow conception rate. They consider productive life, somatic cell score, 3 functional type traits, 3 composite traits including other, feet and legs and body size, and also calving ability. So here in this table, I have the relative weight that these 4 different indices put in these 12 different traits. The interpretation is straightforward. If we see a higher relative weight, that means that the index put more emphasis in that trait. So here I have the Life Nat Merit Index. It's probably the most popular index in US and represent the most appropriate breeding goal for the vast majority of US dairy farmers. As we can see here, this index put a lot of emphasis in protein and fat yield. Actually, they received 20% and 25% of the emphasis. Productive life here received the highest weight among the fitness trait, 19%, and female fertility traits received in total 10%. And overall, this index has relative weight of 43% for production traits, 41% for health and fertility traits, and 16% for functional type traits that are related with other health, longevity, and body size. I have been doing some calculations. These are the correlations that we have among PTAs for different traits with net merit. As you can see here, first of all, net merit is highly correlated with protein and fat yield, and also with productive life. This is not surprising because this index puts emphasis in these three traits. Milk is positively correlated with protein and fat, and hence is also correlated with net merit. High net merit values are associated with low somatic cell score. This is what we want. High net merit values are associated with high daughter pregnancy rate. That means if we use this index and we select using this index, we will improve protein and fat, we will decrease somatic cell count, and we will increase daughter pregnancy rates. So we have three alternative indices that are for producers with a special milk market or production systems. One is what we call the cheese merit index. As you can see here, the cheese merit index compared with the net merit index put more emphasis on protein and put more negative emphasis in milk volume per se. And this is basically for dairy farmers who are paid mainly for milk components. We have a fluid merit index that could fit really well in a case like in Florida. Look at the fluid merit index compared with the net merit index, put no emphasis at all in protein, and put a lot of emphasis in milk volume. So this is mainly for farmers who are paid mainly for milk volume. And finally, we have also, and this could work also in Florida, for a grazing merit index. It's basically for pasture-based dairy producers. Compared with the net merit index, they have basically the same weight for production. They put slightly less emphasis on productive life, but look at this, put much more emphasis in female fertility traits, okay? So, it's important to say that although these four indices are somewhat different, if you calculate the correlation among these indices, are highly correlated. So in some way, they are ranking the animals in a very similar way. So I will finish with some take-home messages. I would say that sire selection represents a great opportunity to improve the profitability of the dairy enterprise. I heard this some years ago when I was in Wisconsin. I remember a famous animal breeder from Iowa went there and said, if breeding for profit is not your objective, then I wish you all the very best with your hobby. I know that you do this for money. Sire selection decisions should be based on PTA information. We select sire for multiple traits, and for that we have to use economic selection indices. I believe that the percentile rank is a wonderful tool that we should use to see how genetically superior the bull in question is compared with the rest of the bulls in the population. Just because we see some positive values in the PTA doesn't mean that the bull is actually good, or as good as we think that he is. And finally, this is crucial nowadays with this genomic tested, young genomic tested bulls. We should use reliability for managing the risk to dilute the risk associated with the precision in the estimate of the genetic merit. We have to use young genomic tested bulls. They are in general better than proven bulls, but instead of use one or two, we should use a team of bulls and dilute the risk associated with lower reliabilities. With that, thanks for your attention. I'm open for questions.